your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Before I introduce you to today's guest, I just briefly want to tell you that my third book with Glenn Mercer, Own Your Health, will be out in a few days. If you're on my mailing list, we're going to offer you bonuses like the free Audible book and extra recipes if you buy it the day we say. So if you're not on my mailing list, consider joining so you'll know exactly what days to buy it so you can get the free audio book. Well, today's guests are one of the most requested guests that I've had since March. Every day, have them on. And at first I didn't know them because I don't know everybody. I'm an old person. I don't watch all these young whippersnappers on YouTube, but people are like, you have to have them. So I contacted them and then they got back to me and yay, they are finally here. Their names are Brian and Jessica Krock, and they have a booming YouTube channel with great recipes and an amazing story that you're going to hear in case you're not familiar with them, known as Krocks in the Kitchen. Please welcome the Krocks. Thanks, guys, for taking the time to do this.
Hello. Hi, we're glad to be here. I feel like there should be thunderous applause for like that introduction. That was amazing.
Well, you know, I feel bad because I'm a YouTuber, but I'm not a YouTuber. I don't watch a lot of stuff and people are like, have them. I'm like, I don't know them. And then I contacted you and then you didn't get back to me and then it hurt my feelings. And so I get afraid to ask, but you did get back to me and I'm so happy to have you here because you have an amazing story and not everybody knows it. So please share it. It's been a little over 2 years, a little over 300 pounds. That's extraordinary. Yeah. Not very many people can do that. So we'd love to know why you did it, how you did it, and what's going on with you guys now.
Okay, so we started out 2018, June 2018. Brian actually was 514 pounds.
Yep.
And he's 6'6", just for reference point. So he is a tall guy, but 514 is still, for anybody, is a lot. And I am actually 5'6", and I started out at 285 pounds. So we like to say we were 800 pounds combined. Technically, it was like 799, but you know, who's counting? And we had been trying to lose weight for years. We had lost some weight before we got married. We've been married for almost 9 years now. But we had lost some weight before we got married in different ways, you know, counting calories, but we never found anything that stuck, that was a true lifestyle change that we could stick to. And so after we got married and went on our honeymoon, we just sort of like never got back on track and never lost weight. And every year it would be like January 1st, okay, we're going to lose weight again. You know, we're going to finally get back on track with losing weight. And you know, that would never work out. And so one day in 2018, June 2018, Brian came home from work and said, hey, I heard about this thing. This guy ate 2 weeks of nothing but plain potatoes. Do you want to do it? And I said, well, that sounds really stupid. But sure, why not? And so, yeah, tell him a little bit, I guess.
So for the months leading up to that, I'd just been feeling like I needed a change. I didn't exactly know how heavy I was at that time. I had a scale, I just didn't step on it. And I don't know. I had this sort of overwhelming desire. I was laying there in bed at night and just thinking, I'm really overweight. And I've never been able to really kick myself into gear to get anything done. But I also had this thought, if I don't do a change, if I don't significantly change something, then I'm not going to live to see 40. And I was, 36 at the time, about to turn 37?
Yeah,
something like that. And so I was like, I just was like, oh no, I need to do something different. And then a couple months later, I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast and he had on the director, Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith had a heart attack and he decided to lose weight. But one of the things that he learned about was from the magician Penn Jillette, who had the book Presto, where he talks about losing 100 pounds in 3 months, really 90 days. And so I was like, well, if these two guys who I actually really admire, who are both big, Kevin Smith isn't exactly tall, but Penn Jillette is like me. He's like 6'7", and he was like 300 pounds or something like that. And I was like, if those guys can do it, so can I. And then I went home and tried to convince Jessica that this is something we could do.
Yeah, so I ended up actually reading the book Presto because he hadn't read it at that point. Mm-hmm. And so I read Penn Jillette's book and I was like, okay, what did he actually do? So he ate potatoes, and he gets confused. A lot of times people think like he ate potatoes to lose the entire 100 pounds, which obviously is not true if you read the book. And so So we started reading the book and trying to figure out, like, he was working with Ray Cronice, who we've actually become friends with now. So it's come full circle for us, and it's kind of crazy. But Ray Cronice was basically like helping Penn Jillette lose weight. And so we were just trying to figure out, like, what did they do? What's the secret? And the closest that we really got to it was figuring out, after he ate 2 weeks of plain potatoes, which we ended up doing as well, he switched to a plant-based diet, specifically a whole food plant-based diet. And so the closest thing that we could find to what they were doing was Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. And so we picked up that book and I read that. I actually read that while we were eating our 2 weeks of plain potatoes, which was 2 weeks of just absolute, like, yeah, we have our very first video we posted. We actually show what happened during those 2 weeks. I don't ever recommend to anybody to do that. It was horrible. They were completely plain. There was nothing added, no salt, no nothing. People are always like, did you add salt? Did you add nothing? And so then we just kind of from there started on this whole food plant-based path. We actually really, in the beginning, stuck pretty strictly to the 6-week plan from Eat to Live, which basically gives you 3 categories. You know, one category, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people on here are familiar, but one category of things that are unlimited, another like section of stuff that you can't have at all, and then some stuff that you can have kind of more sparingly. And so we stuck to that plan. And then over the last 2 years, we've just kind of modified it to fit, you know, we just eat a whole food plant-based diet. And that's how we've lost, I've lost just over 100 pounds and Brian's lost 200 pounds. And we're still losing weight now. Yeah. And we decided to create a YouTube channel to share all of our recipes and all kinds of stuff on there.
And our lives.
Our lives. Yes. So we do videos all the time. Brian creates a lot of recipes. We talk a lot. We do funny, goofy stuff and little challenges and all kinds of stuff. And just, our goal is just to show that this is a lifestyle that is fun and you can switch to it. And I think a lot of people are hesitant to change their lifestyle because they think they're losing something. But we show on our YouTube channel, we show that there's so much more that you can gain from doing this. You know, there's so many new foods you can try and all kinds of stuff. And that's kind of our goal now. So
absolutely.
Uh-oh. Hold on. We can't hear you. Hold on.
You know why you can't hear me? Because I had it.
I was freaking out there. I was like, oh no, another technical difficulty.
I like to sometimes mute it when my guests talk, just, you know, so you don't hear my background noise.
No,
so
I
that's funny. I was saying you're such an inspiration to people, a lot of fans on that love you, and thank you for what you're doing. I'm curious to know if either of you were overweight growing up. Has this been a lifelong struggle?
Yeah, I mean, I was overweight my entire life. Right before we got married, I had gotten down to kind of around where I am at now, which that was like the lowest I'd been since probably like middle school, you know, since I was a kid. So for me, I've definitely struggled ever since I was a kid. I've struggled with my weight.
I started gaining weight one summer when we got Nintendo and Pepsi went on sale and was dirt cheap for like a 24-pack. And so my parents just bought a bunch of soda and we played Nintendo all summer long. And that's when I started gaining my weight. And so I honestly don't know, like for me, every pound lost now, every new step down on the scale is my new lowest point in my adult life. So, you know, every pound is an adventure for me.
That's pretty exciting, actually, when you think of it like that. It's amazing that a lot of those calories just came from liquids.
Yeah, especially in the early days. And then after a while, actually many years ago, I gave up sugar, like at least in liquid form. I gave up, you know, drinking sodas that had sugar or, you know, getting a lot of fruit juices or anything like that. I completely stopped all that stuff. And I still kept gaining weight because I was still just eating a lot of other processed foods, a lot of fatty foods, you know, massive amounts of oil and animal products and stuff like that. And so, yeah, for me though, like it started out with the sugary drinks and then sort of evolved into the fatty stuff mixed with carbs and all of that kind of bad stuff that you're not supposed to do.
Well, I think what's so cool is this time when you lost weight, you actually got to eat a lot of food.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Brian definitely likes to eat a large quantity of food. And so this was back in the days where we used to calorie count, it wasn't, we were still eating the same stuff, but just restricting it to these small amounts. And so we didn't change anything fundamentally. And then, over time we would go back to eating more and more of it and just gain weight back. And so this time it's a complete, shift of what we've eaten. And we like to originally when we started, we didn't know if this was going to be something that we would start doing. And then, we'd lose the weight and then we'd go back to the old way of eating. But it only took a few months of doing this to realize that this is what we want. This is how we want to eat for the rest of our lives. And this is what we want to do. And so we started out calling this our weight loss journey, but we now call it our weight loss adventure, because it's just like, an ongoing adventure that will keep going throughout our lives. But of course, hopefully we'll be done with the weight loss portion of it in the next 6 months to a year.
Well, Gina says your transformation is amazing. Maya says first time learning about the Krocks, but I can tell I will enjoy watching their videos. Congratulations on your weight loss. And Jude says, love the Krocks. They're so real and transparent, and they come up with awesome recipes, which they are going to do today after we get to know them a little bit better. I'm curious, did either of you ever hear of a vegan diet or a whole food plant-based diet before hearing about Dr. Furman's book?
So for me, I had never heard of, and I know you hadn't, we've never heard of a whole food plant-based diet whatsoever. We obviously had heard of a vegan diet because we exist in this world and vegans are there. But for the most part, we're Midwestern people. And so the concept of a vegan is kind of foreign to us.
Yeah. I knew I had a few friends that had, that ate a vegan diet and stuff like that. But to me, it was always one of those things that I thought would be a really good thing to do, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on that I don't, that I disagree with as far as animal products and stuff like that. And so I always thought like, wow, those people, the fact that they've been able to commit to that just because of, animal rights and all that kind of stuff, I admire that so much. But it's not one of those things that I could bring myself to do until we learned about, the whole food plant-based diet and that how much better it was for our health. But honestly, even when we started, a lot of people ask us like, why'd you pick this plan? Why'd you do this? Why'd you, whatever. We were just trying to figure out what the heck, Ray Cronise had Pendulette doing. And so we were like, what did they do? What did they do? And Eat to Live was what we came to. And so we didn't know about, we
didn't even know about the other doctors.
Or any of the other, we didn't know anything. The only information we had on the whole food plant-based diet was Eat to Live. And so that was our introduction. And it's been really cool doing the YouTube channel because we've gotten, we have all these people we interact with now who do different variations of a whole food plant-based diet. And we've been able to learn and check out, some of the other doctors and all that stuff. And so it's just, we're constantly learning more about this, and that keeps it fun as well, I think.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. when you think about that, you got tired of potatoes after 2 weeks. Can you imagine Spudfit, who did it for 52 weeks?
I'm friends with them on Facebook. So we've had some conversations about that.
I can't even imagine. his were not completely plain.
That's true.
He did add some stuff to them, which, and trust me, even just having like ketchup would anything you could add to them. Like when you try to do it plain, it's brutal.
When we did the Mary's Mini from McDougal, I like the first day of it, like when I got done with it, I was like, this was easy. This was simple and just so easy compared to eating 2 weeks of plain potatoes. It's like, because you could actually add stuff to them. And like even after the first 10 days or whatever that we did of it, we got done and I was like, that was really, really easy.
Yeah.
So
Mary's Mini compared to plain was definitely like a cakewalk. It
was
like very easy.
If you climb Everest, then it's like, oh, I'm now going to climb this nice hill. It's like there's no comparison. It's like we did something really hard on our end, with that, and then it's like doing the mini was super easy after that.
Well, it's like everything is relative, and that's why like people that water fast, you have a whole different frame of reference now.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never done that one yet. I haven't done water fasting yet.
Me neither. I haven't even done all potatoes yet.
Speaking of potatoes, our potatoes, the recipe we're going to make, our potatoes are we have 2 minutes and 39 seconds until it's going to start beeping. So we're going to take the potatoes out of the oven because we went ahead and got them going. Otherwise they would never have finished during this video. But so when you see Brian disappear, that's why.
Okay, that's great. So, but you guys are like, you're regular people, like you have regular jobs and everything like that, right?
Yes. So I actually right now don't have a job. Technically, I'm on furlough. I actually work in the music industry promoting concerts. So right now is not a good time for my industry. It's really unfortunate. There's a lot of people out of work, and it's been I'm lucky that I have this whole Crocs in the kitchen thing that we do, because I do all the stuff with our website. So he does all the video editing and stuff like that, but I do all our social media and website stuff. And so that keeps me really, really busy, taking pictures of recipes and doing all the blog posts and all that. It keeps me really busy. And if I didn't have that right now, I would be just like going crazy. But Brian's actually a podcast producer.
Yes, I work for a podcasting network. And I literally, even today, like I was just putting together podcasts, getting them posted online and whatnot. And I do a bunch of stuff there. I do like voiceover work as well and all that. But on my podcast, though, I would love to extend an invitation to you to be on my podcast. I'd love to give you an interview.
I would love to, and thank you. And it's funny, I did not know that about you, Brian, but this whole time I'm thinking this guy has a great voice. So I'm glad you're right. You guys seem so comfortable, in front of the camera. I teach some business classes, and so many people are afraid to get started on YouTube, but you guys just seem very comfortable.
Well, Jessica was definitely a bit leery of getting online and presenting herself to people. Me, I've always been up on stage. I've been a musician pretty much my entire life. I loved doing things in theater and stuff like that. I know you were a comedian, and I've seen your videos of you doing stuff online, and that was awesome. So it's like I basically grew up in front of other people. So transitioning to a camera was fairly simple for me. Not to mention, I really love interacting with people.
For me, I'm a total introvert. I'm actually, and people on the channel don't believe me when I tell them, like, I am actually painfully shy. And because I talk a lot, they're like, wait, you're shy. But it's different. I've gotten really comfortable doing this. And I think part of that is just because we've gotten to know people. We've gotten to know a lot of the people that we interact with and that watch our channel. And so you realize, like, hey, there are just people out there watching too, but there's the potatoes. But if you watch our earlier videos, you'll definitely notice that I'm way more comfortable now than I was in the beginning. And you may not even notice, because there were a lot more takes that happened back then. When we first started, it was painful for Brian, because he had to do a lot of editing to make my stuff work.
I did watch as many videos as I could before today's broadcast, and I love this one where Brian ate corn for the first time.
Yeah, that was our very first video that we did, talking about the 2 weeks of potatoes. And that first bite of corn was heaven. And it was kind of a game changer for me, because it really was that moment of like, okay, this is what something can actually taste like, as opposed to what I think it tastes like.
Yeah, so that was right after, obviously, like, it wasn't the first time we'd ever had corn. It was after we'd done the 2 weeks of potatoes. The whole thing was, the first bite was going to be this corn, and it was going to be like so sweet. And we really could, after we did the 2 weeks of plain potatoes, we really could taste. I mean, I was eating baby carrots like they were candy. Like, you could take, after the years of like just eating all that junk food, and just, I don't know, it's amazing how much just real food tastes good to you after you take away all the junk. And so that's been really cool, finding like new foods that we love, and fruits and things that I didn't like before. And now that I do like I would never eat like an orange or a strawberry before, which sounds just totally insane to me now, because I would just eat them, nonstop now. But yeah, there's so many things that we've tried that we love now.
Yeah.
Well, I just typed what you said. Real food tastes good when you take away all the junk. That's kind of the secret.
Yeah, that it is. And it's funny, because when we first started this, somebody who I work with said to me, she said, so when are you going to be able to eat real food again? And I was like, what do you mean, like real food? And she said, like pizza. And I was like, what? It just blows my mind, because it's like, I eat more real food now than I've ever eaten in my life. And, but it's hard for people to understand, like, they think it's so restrictive. When you start telling them, well, I don't eat oil, I don't add sugar, I don't add salt, you know, you start telling them that kind of stuff and they think it's so restrictive, but it's just so hard to explain to people that I eat so much more variety now than I ever ate before. Like, hands down, I'm so much more adventurous with what I eat and when we travel and all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree completely, 100%.
Jesse says, please tell Jessica and Brian that all their favorite crock pots are here watching them today, and say hello to Peef.
Hi. Yes, Peef is back there. There's Peef. Grab Peef.
I will grab the Peef.
Peef is my bear. There is a whole video about Peef. If you look on our channel, it's a very lengthy, crazy explanation. But Peef travels when I love to travel, and I take Peef and I take pictures of him with everything. And he's actually in the background of every single video we make. There are some where he's really well hidden and you can't find him, but it started out kind of as a joke, and we just we just have to have him in every video.
Yeah, I was just going to have him in one video starting in the very beginning, and then it turned into a bit, and it's just stuck with us ever since. And now we like run into our viewers out in the world and stuff, and they're just like, she whips out Peef, and they're just like, oh my God, Peef.
Because whenever we're always traveling whenever we've run into people. I've run into a couple of people in St. Louis, but because we live in St. Louis, Missouri. But usually we're traveling when we run into people. And so I always have Peef with me, and people like take selfies with Peef, and it's
that's like hilarious.
Yes, he's our little mascot. So.
Well, so you guys obviously inspire thousands and thousands of people with your YouTube channel, but what about friends, family, and coworker? I mean, they've had to have noticed your transformation, right?
For my coworkers, the only real thing that I ever got them to do was because a couple of them wanted to lose weight, and so they tried to do the 2 weeks of potatoes, and none of them succeeded. And then they just did other things to try and lose weight. One of them went on a keto diet. Another one actually got the gastric sleeve surgery and stuff. I had that guy on my show actually a couple months ago. And so coworker wise, nobody ever really did anything, but everybody is really appreciative and excited to see like how I've lost all the weight. And a couple of them have even tried out recipes, and they love them and stuff. So that's really cool. Family wise, the most that I've gotten out of that is my dad is eating oatmeal for breakfast, as far as I know. But
yeah, for me, I don't think there's anybody like coworkers, like really close friends, or anybody who's like made a total switch. They all like, I don't know. I feel like whenever we're with my family, like we always bring like our giant salad bowls with us to like family gatherings. And because people ask us a lot of times, like, well, what do you do when you're, in a family setting or that kind of stuff? And nobody has given us, I hear a lot of people say like, oh, my family gives us so much trouble. Like they, other people like make fun of them or any kind of just give them trouble and like, oh, well, what are you eating? Kind of thing. And I never really experienced that. But we never try to like preach on other people like, oh, you have to do this, you have to do this. And one of the reasons we started the channel was because we do get so many questions from people that we know. And so when we first started the YouTube channel, we were just like, okay, well, we'll put up a couple of videos on what we did because we just get asked about it so many times. And so then it just kind of took on a life of its own, and here we are today.
Yep.
Do you think the fact that you did it together made it easier and is going to make it more sustainable this time, losing weight?
For us, yes.
Yeah.
Doing it together definitely helped out, because when we succeed together, we fail together. If we've struggled on the diet, of which we've done videos on different things whenever we've gotten off plan or something like that, and those are us failing at the same time. But then at the same time, after that, or even before, we're always trying to build each other back up to that point to be back and eating the right way and doing all that. But yes, so for us, we work together as a team. It's just the way that we've kind of always been. We are polar opposites in personality and in skill sets and everything across the board, really, except for our love of music. And yet we work together extremely well, and that has really, really helped us out. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people deal with it by themselves. They're the, the solo person in the household who eats that way or something. And we get a lot of questions asking us about that. And I feel bad because we just really don't have an answer for them other than here's what we did to lose weight, but you may have to adapt some things to adjust to having a partner or a family that doesn't eat the way that you do.
Yeah. I usually am the one who gets him I sometimes will get him off the rails. Like if I have to be on, otherwise he's like, he's easily.
I'm easy to knock over. It's like it's like a competition for me almost sometimes. It's like,
so
wait, she ate something bad. It's like she ate something bad, so now I have to eat something bad to keep up with her. Something like that. Yeah,
are you still cooking those?
Yeah, I'm cooking the potatoes. They had to cook a little bit longer because you were right. I cut them a little too big, so there's that.
I was right.
She
Brian
was right.
Krock. Jessica was right.
You guys should actually have a sitcom. You guys are hilarious. So that's funny. So Jessica, you're the enabler then, huh?
Yeah, I can be pretty bad, and people it's funny because people on our videos in the comments will get mad. They'll be like stop sabotaging Brian because I'm the bad influence. But here's the thing, I could say no. He could say no, and that's the thing. It's been interesting because we've had the last few months have been like kind of a roller coaster emotionally for me, and so it's just I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on, and everything with my job and all that. But yeah, I kind of if I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat, and I hate calling it bad, but like off plan or whatever. It's like I have two routes. I could hide it from him and then he'll stay on track, but then I'm like sneaking around, or I could tell him about it, but then I know he'll want to do it too. And so then I feel like I'm sabotaging him. So it's like, do I be honest or it's a hard thing, but usually I'm not a very good liar. So
that's true.
So usually I end up confessing to anything that I've done. And I'm like, this is what I did.
It isn't always that I get off track because of her, that does generally seem to happen that way. But at the same time, I have said no. She's been like, well, I did this. And I was just like, well, I'm eating right today, and like all of that. But then at the same time, there have been other times when I told her, be like, well, I was at work and, they ordered food. And so I ate something, blah, blah, blah. But I think for us though, there's a lot of the, like when we're on plan, and it's kind of hard to knock us off of that.
Yeah.
And then it usually takes some sort of an outside influence, be it anxiety, depression, or something like that, to generally like get us sort of off kilter. But I mean, it does happen. Life happens, and sometimes it really does mess you up. And I know for Jessica though, like a lot of it with her, like when she has eaten off plan, it isn't the food necessarily that she's like driving to get to. It's the comfort. It's the thing that reminds her of a better time, and that kind of a setup. And so it's like it's
funny though, because lately I've realized that I can get like it when I need that comfort. Like there's so much if you're sticking to like the plan that we normally stick to try to lose weight, that's one thing. But there's actually, like the more indulgent kind of versions of that stuff can still give you that comfort. You really don't need to go outside of plant-based, like even whole food plant-based. You can get, there's more indulgent ways to do it and so you can still kind of stick on that. So that's kind of where I've gotten a lot better over the last 2 years about that, and not wanting to completely go off in a totally different direction. But yeah, we always say we're not perfect. It's a work in progress, but we're in this for the long haul. Like we know this is the right path for us.
Yep.
That's great. I don't think it matters so much if you get off track, as long as you get back on.
Yes.
Yep,
Brian
exactly.
loves to say that. It's like, because I like to call myself a failure. My therapist is working on me with that. I'm very hard on myself. I'm a perfectionist, and I'm my own worst critic. And I've been that way since I was a kid. It's all like self-motivated and self-imposed, and he's the total opposite.
I prefer to quote Rocky. It's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
That's sort of the mentality of it, is like, it doesn't matter. you know, you get, what's the old adage, get knocked down 5 times, get up 6, you know, whatever it have, get down, that kind of a mentality.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, like, I've even said it before that for in this lifestyle, my end goal is not a weight. My end goal is not a number. It's not something on a scale. My end goal is a life well lived and lived for a long time. And so for me, I tell this to people all the time, like the finish line isn't a number. The finish line is death. And hopefully that death is far away. So,
Nice.
So there you go.
I think women are a little harder on themselves with this, Jessica, that when, you know, because men, it seems like they can have a transgression, a beer or something, and they don't beat themselves up the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything that I've ever done in my life, like I've always been my own worst critic. And so, are you okay over there, Brian?
yeah, I'm just really, really wrapped
He's got
up.
his microphone like wrapped around the
Oh,
chair
how that even
while
happened.
he's trying to get these potatoes out. But I've had to learn to kind of let go of some of that and realize that, you know, as long as I don't give up, then I haven't failed. And that's a thing that's been hard for me to kind of not dwell on the times when I've done stuff that, you know, has been off plan, but like just trying to realize, hey, as long as I don't give up and completely like abandon ship on this whole thing, then I'm still doing okay. And there's still another day ahead.
Well, you can't fail if you don't quit. I mean, that's right.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Martha says, if someone is considering a plant-based lifestyle, what one recipe should they try from the Krocks? The Krocks, and people
The Krocks.
the Krocks. That's a different couple. They're saying you have a chili with oat groats. Some people are saying might be one.
Yeah, we actually just put out a chili recipe. What was that? Wednesday. That Brian just came out with. But I would say our original chili recipe, which is a little bit more like, I guess, like hearty kind of, I don't know.
I have had people send me messages, and it always makes me happy when they're like, my meat-eating carnivore of a husband ate your chili and was absolutely floored at how good it was.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah,
I want those guys to be just like, man, this is a good chili. I don't want these people to be like, you know, oh, this is a good vegan chili, because that's a whole other category for me. It's like, but for me, it's all about getting those people that don't know the lifestyle to try the food and then be like, yes, this is awesome. I love this.
Yeah, so that's our original chili recipe that came out like about a year ago. And then the one that we just did is just a little bit different. It's my favorite recipe that Brian's ever made. So
yeah,
the new one, but
it has cocoa powder and oat groats in it.
I would still say if you're new to this and you want a really good recipe to try out, we ate that chili. We made that chili like probably every other week. It makes a massive batch. You can freeze it. Like, honestly, we owe like so much of our weight loss to that chili. It's kind of ridiculous.
We even coined the phrase emergency chili.
Yes, emergency chili.
For whenever we would go on vacation and we would come back, we would have food ready to go in the freezer. And usually that food was chili. So we call it emergency chili, just in case you ever happen to, you know, be hungry.
Yeah, because when you know you're going to travel and be off like for a little bit, not that now that really matters because nobody's traveling, but we always found that having that plan in place for when you get home, so you don't come home to like an empty refrigerator. So that really helped us because we used to do a lot of traveling, and that really helped keep us on when we knew we came home to our emergency chili in the freezer and it was ready to go. We didn't have to think about what we were going to eat.
I think that's the number one most important thing, is being prepared. I really do.
Yes, being prepared. That's why we love doing the batch cooking. We love doing like veggie prep once a week, where we'll just prep a bunch of veggies so that when we were working, because we used to work and get home late, you know, like 7 o'clock at night, and we just needed to eat dinner, and it was like we couldn't be bothered to chop things and do all that. So we always had everything prepped and ready to go, because if you don't have it prepped, then in the moment where you're making that decision, you have a decision to make. If you already have it prepped, you don't have a decision. It's like, oh, there's my food.
We called it our salad bar.
Yeah.
We would chop up all the veggies that we were going to use throughout the week. And then we would have everything available, and we would either have, you know, heads of lettuce or bagged lettuce or whatever it happened to be. Sometimes we get mixes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we get home, open that up, chop up a head of lettuce, throw in everything else, put on one of the SOS-free dressings that we created, or our hummus recipe. Our super smoky hummus recipe is another popular one that we have. Put that on there, mix it all up, bang. You got yourself a nice salad for dinner.
You know what they say, preparation trumps motivation. I just want to thank a couple people for super chats. You guys are bringing me luck today. Thank you, Jeremy Moore. Thank you, Martha. I can't ring it too much. It drives my dog crazy.
I know what Martha that is. We know that Martha.
Is that Martha?
It's got to be Martha. It's got to be the Martha.
It's got to be Martha and Julie.
Let's see if it says Martha S.
Yep, that's Martha.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, people are saying Brian's chorizo spice beans recipe is fabulous.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
That is the best smelling thing I have ever made.
You guys going to write a book, I imagine, someday?
I would love to. That is definitely on my list of things to do. Especially, I'm hoping maybe next year. Would be super nice to get that done, but maybe have something a little bit sooner than that too.
We're working on a few things, so we're hoping maybe we can have some kind of recipe, not a book, but like something coming out this year, maybe. But we'll see. Well, it's really about me getting motivated, because I've never not had a full-time job, like since the day I graduated college, like 13 or whatever, 12 years ago. And so this is a weird time for me, and I have all this free time to work on stuff, but it's the motivation can be kind of lacking when you're like, oh, I finally have a break. So yeah.
Yep.
Well, I know what you mean about motivation. That's a lot of times people's problems when it comes to weight loss, motivation.
Yep, definitely 100%. And it's funny because I don't know, something changed in Brian at the beginning half of 2018. I could see that there was a change in his mind, and that he really started to worry about the future. And that was his motivation, was to live so that we could have a longer life together.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people get hung up in, well, am I worth it? Am I, they get depressed, they get all kinds of different things going on. So it's really important to have, to know what your reason is for doing this, so that when you want to give up, you can say, okay, I can't give up because of this, or,
I found my why. I knew what I wanted to do. I found my why to do it.
Well, people liked your saying you want to have a life well lived.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
It could almost be the title of the book, or the subtitle. Hey, so you got me another one. Fooly Julie. You guys are great. You're going to stay on for a couple
of course,
hours.
Julie.
Oh, Fooly Julie. So that's Martha's sister. So
yeah.
Yes, they're twins. We love them. They have been, and that's the cool part about doing this, is like we have gained so many friends all over the world, and it's been just, we have lifelong friends that we've gained from doing this. We're really good friends with Brittany Giroudi. I know you had her on.
Yes.
She's just lovely. And then we actually just recently became friends with Jill from the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show. And so I'm kind of a person who doesn't have my entire life I've avoided having friends, because I've just been hurt too many times, and I have a fragile, I don't know. But this has given me an opportunity to kind of find people that, it's hard to find people that really get to know you. And I feel like I'm actually more me on the channel than I am in real life sometimes, because I've put up these walls in real life to kind of avoid getting hurt. And when it comes to the channel, I'm just really open. And so it's interesting, because people who watch the videos who know me really well will learn stuff about me that they had no idea. And they thought I was one way, and they're like, wow, I learned, I did a video talking about my anxiety, which was a really, really personal one for me. And it's stuff that I don't normally share with, people in my lives. And so it's been an interesting way to have these people who come to you knowing the real you without the walls up, and really connecting with these people on another level through the channel has been honestly one of the most rewarding parts of it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so cool. Do you get any not so great people watching you? Like, you know what I'm talking about? We don't want to give them a name.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, there's definitely some interesting comments. In the beginning, I remember one comment that we were in a hotel when it came through, and it was one of our first like really mean comments, and I was in tears. But I take things really personally. Brian can like let stuff roll off of him.
I really, weirdly enough, like the trolls that interact with me. Because I like arguing with them for some reason. I don't know. I'm old. I've been around, since the internet was formed. I've been in chat rooms my entire life. Like, I'm used to just like arguing with people online about random things.
I definitely have to like tell Brian, I'm like, don't respond to that one. Like, and I have to like let him not. I have to control him a little bit sometimes.
I'm a lot better about it now than I originally wanted to be when we first started out.
The thing that we've learned, I think, is that a lot of times when people comment, you like, I love to say like kill them with kindness, but they don't expect you to like, because sometimes they have a point, some of the things that they say, they may have a point. Does that mean they needed to make that point? We pour our heart and soul into doing this and like so much time into making the videos and stuff like that. And so it can get a little bit annoying when you read, a negative comment and they may have a point. I find that if you acknowledge it and say, hey, this is, thanks for bringing it up, you just kind of, you want to be the bigger person sometimes. And so I find a lot of times then they come back and you can, they're like, oh, hey, wow, there is a real person at the end of this. When people don't think like there's another person on the end of stuff. But one of the coolest things has just been over time for me, like the negative comments just don't get to me anymore. And there's a lot of power in that. In knowing that I can handle the negativity and not let it bother me, that I have control of that. And before, when we first started, it was like, I was just, it was really bad whenever we'd get anything negative. So now it's kind of gotten to a place where I'm okay with it.
Other people's opinions of you do not define you. And I say that to a lot of people. You are only defined by yourself and God. So, leave it at that.
I love Brian's he always has his little quotes that he in his little
my words that I live
his
by.
Words of wisdom. And that's actually one of the reasons why. So he works for a podcasting network. So he started his own podcast. It's called I'm Losing It. And it's all about, we interview different people in this community. He talks
even
about
outside the community.
There's stuff. It's not all about weight loss, but there's all kinds of different stuff on there.
That's always an underlying theme.
And one of the reasons I really wanted him to start the podcast was because he does have this just like wisdom, and he's always kept me grounded because I am the anxiety, running around like worried about everything, and he keeps me really calm and grounded. And so I love for him to be able to share those words with, to an open mic in a format other than just our YouTube videos. And his podcast has allowed him to do that. Although I did take over your podcast this week. We get a lot of flack sometimes from people because people say that originally people said that I interrupted him too much when we were talking. And it's a weird balance. Like, we both have a lot to say, and my head goes like a mile a minute. And so I made a conscious effort not to interrupt him. And then people started telling him he was interrupting me. So it's funny doing this together because we're just two goofy people we're just a married couple. Like we get a lot, like we're married, like you guys, like if you've been married for almost 10 years, like, you interrupt each other, that's just that's just what it is. It's not disrespectful or meant that way, but that gets talked about a lot in the comments. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's why you guys, I think that's what's great about you guys. So many people are asking about a band.
Oh God.
You mean the Sprouts band?
Yes.
Yes.
So the joke started out that, who was it? It was us on a live stream, and Nutmeg Notebook was on there, and we found out that apparently Tom of the Nutmeg Notebook, like he plays
keyboard,
he plays a couple different
drums.
instruments.
Yeah, he plays a few instruments.
And then Dylan from Well Your World was on, and he plays saxophone.
Yes, he plays a mean saxophone.
He actually does play a good saxophone. But then we were just like, hey, like, yeah, the three of us should start a band together.
Yeah, Brian's a drummer, and he also sings. He actually has a music YouTube channel as well. And so he does all his music stuff over there. But me and Reeves, Dylan's girlfriend Reeves, decided that the band would be called the Sprouts. Oh, well, I think the YouTube commenters might have like come up with the name, but
yeah, it might have been. Yeah,
we're the managers of the band. But we recently discovered that Jill and Jeff from the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show play music. So I'm trying to make this happen.
We've recruited them as well, and they're now. You know, it's all a joke. It's never actually going to happen.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
We're never going to play together. It's just not in the cards.
Never say never.
One day.
I don't know if you guys know, I play the nose flute.
Oh.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's got to be in the band.
I'm telling you, one day on a Vegas stage, this band is happening.
Yeah. I'd love to do a massive like YouTube Whole Food Plant-Based meetup. And just have a great
Sprouts will headline, obviously.
And like that would just be hilarious to me though. Like
yes.
But I'd love to do a meetup in Vegas sometime with a bunch of different people, just because I mean there's a lot of good stuff in Vegas as well. So
you watch out. I'm gonna start like social media accounts for the Sprouts.
I don't even gamble. I don't even gamble or anything. It's like I still just like going to Vegas because it's a fun town.
Well, maybe one day this pandemic will end and this will be
yes.
possible. So do you want to do the recipe? I don't want, I
yes.
know.
Yeah.
I would love to see what you've got.
Let's do the recipe. We can put it together really quickly. So this recipe, Brian had been wanting to make pesto, and
yes.
he's like, I can make pesto with peas. And I was like, all right, well.
I read somewhere that you could make pesto with peas.
And so yeah. he decided to do this. And so what we have done, so then we had some potatoes on hand when he was making this, and we decided.
Shall I explain this one?
We decided to put you decided to put the pesto on the potatoes.
I was hungry and it was lunchtime, and I decided that I was going to make pesto. And then I was like, well, what can I put it on? I mean, we've got some pasta, like some bean pasta or stuff in there. I was like, I really don't want to make pasta. It's like, I want to do something faster than that. We had a bag of potatoes, and I was just like, yeah, I'll go ahead and roast some potatoes and then make the pesto and then see how it all turns out. So we have a potato.
So we really, for the recipe,
right, hold it very still.
Oh gosh.
I'm kidding. This is a very sharp knife.
I'm not allowed to use knives. The recipe is on our website, and it's crocksinthekitchen.com. I also sent you the link, so I'm sure you can add it directly to the recipe. I actually just posted it like 10 minutes before we started this video. I took all the fancy pictures and everything.
Not used to cutting it like eye level.
Yeah.
This is
so
kind of terrifying.
Basically, you just chop it up. It's supposed to be in like 1-inch cubes, although Brian's back there are a little bit bigger than that. But just roughly chop it up into cubes.
That's I just quartered it. Those I didn't quarter; they were bigger, but just quartered it and then chopped it into nice little bits like this, and then
with the magic of then actually show me that pan real quick. We have all this prepped and ready to go. So we actually we like to use a Silpat baking mat, and we just put it on like a baking sheet like this, and then put the potatoes on there. I'm actually just gonna schlep these away, and then with the magic of TV, at 400 degrees in the oven.
These I cooked for probably about 55 total.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 45 minutes if he cut them properly, but he cut them too big. You
can air fry these as well, but I find that cooking them in the oven turns them out way better. But so you can, I don't know if the pan is still hot or not.
It's not really. All
right, cool.
I mean, so these are just these are plain. There's nothing on
them whatsoever. No seasoning.
They taste pretty good, actually.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are potatoes.
They're better than the plain potatoes we ate. We should have eaten them like this.
Yes. So we have our potatoes ready to go, and now all we need to do is make the pesto.
Make the pesto. Okay, hold on. The food processor is like.
Oh, that's beautiful food processor.
But my mom gave me this as a wedding. I think my mom gave it to me. I don't know. She's probably on there somewhere on the live stream
What's
chat.
Her name? I'll look for her.
Her name is Pamela Sneed, but I'm not sure if she was able to figure it out because she's technologically not very inclined, but I sent her the link, so hopefully she's on. But I think she gave me this. I'm not sure.
You want this?
For a wedding present. So yes. So basically, we're just gonna add in the food processor. We have Brian has toasted up some pine nuts. You want to show them the pine nuts?
Ooh, look at it. Pine nuts.
So we're gonna add some pine nuts, and you don't have to do the pine nuts. You could leave them out.
Yes.
But,
the only thing, like if you, I know if you do pine nuts, you generally will heat up a pan and then you toss them constantly in the pan while it's hot, and then remove them the second you can so they can cool, because if they burn, they become very bitter. You can't use them. You have to start over again, and they will burn like that. They will burn
I included
very,
that
very
note
quickly.
in the recipe. You can print the recipe out from our website, and it literally says, "Be careful not to burn them."
I'm gonna go ahead and add these in.
Then I'm gonna add some peas, and we just used frozen peas that have been thawed out, so really convenient. So
if you've got like English peas or something like that, you know, you may have to cook them for a minute if they're fresh.
And
so.
all the ingredient amounts are on the website and all that stuff. So, okay, then we need the basil. So you get the basil prepared, and then I will get the rest of the stuff in here. We've got some garlic cloves. So we didn't even chop them up. We're just gonna throw in some garlic cloves. We've got some lemon juice. Tamari. I have everything.
Jessica likes to hum while she's eating.
I do. I hum while I'm eating. That's a thing. Okay, then we have almond milk. Oh, so that was low sodium tamari. Sorry if I'm going too quickly, but that was low sodium tamari. You could also use like liquid aminos, low sodium soy sauce, that kind of stuff. And then I just have my little beaker here with a quarter cup of unsweetened original almond milk. Don't get the vanilla or anything like that.
That'll really mess up the recipe.
That'll really not taste good. This is just unsweetened original almond milk. And then Brian's getting the basil together, and we're gonna do pepper. It says pepper to taste, so
yeah, let's just add it in there.
I'm gonna add some
an extra level.
freshly cracked black pepper.
If you want to add in some, just like a dash of cayenne, you can do that as well. Although the basil itself will usually be fairly peppery and have a bit of a kick to it. I would say that's probably good enough.
Except for the basil.
Oop.
Going in there.
Flying leaf.
So it's pretty basic, you know. I think you said the peas kind of help replace, since you don't have like olive oil and that kind of stuff.
Yes, because you know olive oil is kind of an essential ingredient in normal pesto, and the peas really balance out the pepperiness of the basil, as well as give you an extra layer of creaminess and an extra layer of sweetness as well.
So then we're just going to
turn that sucker on.
It's going to get really loud, probably.
That's not loud at all.
So yes.
It's noisy. Who was doing that again? Where they're making.
So Brian suggests that you.
Oh, so I already had one from the
go
potatoes.
ahead and like wipe it down.
Yeah, you want to push everything back down again. Especially, we've done this as a double batch as well, and it is easier to mix. Just because everything sort of blends together really nicely. But yes, you're definitely going to have to scrape down the sides a couple of times, probably.
So yeah, you just keep going like that, but with the magic of TV.
No worry, we're going to eat all of this, I promise.
I always wanted to do like a cooking show where it's just like, and I happen to have this in the oven ready to go. So we happen to have some pesto that has been made before, that is ready to go. So this you can see it's really creamy.
It thickens up a little bit.
This we've made yesterday, and it tastes really good by itself. But if you take and add it to these potatoes,
go and just
get the potatoes in.
We're just eating for us. We're fine. We can use our hands.
Yeah. So if you put the potatoes in a bowl, actually we ate a giant bowl together yesterday as we were
that was like our
testing the
meal.
final recipe. So yes, take your little roasted up potatoes and then add in your pesto, and you can heat up the pesto. You can heat up it all together if you want, or you can just and you may have extra pesto. You don't need to use all of it, but we basically just like to kind of mix it up all together. Toss it all together and then eat it like that. But I also like to, just for extra fanciness, I like to add like just a little bit of fresh parsley. This is me pretending to be on Food Network here.
That looks amazing.
So just add a little bit of fresh parsley, and then there you go. You have pesto roasted potatoes. Now, of course, you could. Is Scout eating a potato?
No, there's no
Grab
potato
Scout
down.
so we can show Scout.
Scotty, come
I
here.
know you like dogs.
Oh, I love dogs. Are you kidding?
This is Scout.
This is one of our dogs. This is Scout. Oliver is actually at daycare right now,
Yeah.
so we got to go pick him up after we're done here. But this is my little girl.
This is
I
I love her to death.
How
Okay.
come one dog goes to daycare and one stays home?
Well, so
She doesn't like it.
Oliver, no, Scott doesn't like daycare, but Oliver can be kind of like annoying. I mean, he's my baby, but we decided that we were like, we'll take him to daycare while we're doing this, so that we didn't have to like chase. It can be a lot trying to chase down 2 dogs while filming.
Mhm.
When we do the videos, we sometimes we'll have like a little like dog intermission, and then it speeds forward. But we figured since we were doing this live, we would let Ollie go to what we call his happy place, which is his daycare. But yeah, so roasted pesto potatoes. Do you want to try out a bite?
Yeah, where's my fork?
Oh, sorry.
Thank
I
you.
have this. Look at this tiniest little fork just for Brian.
I'm just a giant with a normal sized fork
Mm.
instead.
Those look
See-
amazing.
I actually like it with
Mm.
the hot potatoes and then the cold pesto. It all kind of comes together. If you get that on my laptop, I'm gonna kill you.
Yep.
I'm
But
so
yeah,
glad
no-
you guys didn't get so sick of potatoes that you're not eating them because they're
Exactly.
It took us a year, but we finally got
We
back to
finally
it.
got back to him, yes. But yeah, so this is just a little quick thing that Brian put together. But yeah,
And that was my lunch. And I gave her a taste of it. And she was like, that's really good.
yeah, I had one bite and I was like, yep, this is good.
Not bad for something I threw together one day.
Yeah, peas are a great idea.
Not to mention they keep it nice and green too, so it's not like
Yeah.
you don't have anything else in them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind trying it with maybe some beans or something sometime just to see. But I guess peas are I mean they're green beans, but kind of they're lentils, but like right legumes.
I don't
something.
know.
What are peas?
Yeah, peas are technically legumes. Maria says,
Yeah.
do you taste the peas?
I don't taste
Not really, no.
peas.
There's just an underlying sweetness to the pesto, which is really nice. But no, it doesn't have like a very strong pea flavor because the basil is
Yeah.
just so strong
Mhm.
that it will overpower practically everything except for the parsley, which will have its own distinct flavor whenever you bite into that. But this has honestly become one of my favorite things. Like I made this like 3 or 4 times that week, like alone. Once I figured it out, like just this same dish, the same recipe, just potatoes with this lovely pesto on there. And yeah, I think a couple times I even chopped up some sun-dried tomatoes and mixed that in there as well. That turned out amazing. I mean, like there's so many different varieties of things that you can do with this recipe that, I mean, you're not just restricted to this. You can do a bunch of stuff, but I really do want to try it with pasta. I've yet to do that because I keep eating with potatoes instead.
Yeah, I bet it would also be good on zucchini noodles too.
Oh yeah, and
that's
we
true.
get out the little zoodler thingamabob that we had. And,
You could even do like just a baked potato and then use it as the topping too.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. Well, this has been great. I know you have to go pick up your dog. So thank you guys so much for doing this. The recipe was great. I love getting to know you better.
Yeah.
And everybody loves you. So this is great.
we could talk for a good while
Yeah,
longer.
well-
I know that.
Yeah,
No, I know that.
we were definitely, well, I was nervous. I always get nervous about these kind of things, but I was like, I'm really glad we did it. And it was really fun getting to chat with you and everything like that. So
Well, keep up the good work. And thanks for all you're doing to inspire people and for getting back up every time you have a minor transgression. I appreciate that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.